butt-kicking entertainment.
Welcome back. We now have with us Greenland, a former High Court judge from Zimbabwe. Judge, thank you once again for joining us. You've become a familiar face on the channel. You know, we've been saying that this morning started off pretty much in a routine way in terms of what we've seen in this trial. And of course, it all exploded this afternoon when we saw photographs for the first time, giving us a line of sight really into Oscar Pistorius' house on that night. Now, from a judge's perspective, how does what seems to us as, lay people as hardcore evidence in terms of pictures, how much does that influence the judge's approach?
The judge is primarily concerned, as regards each witness, with the issue of credibility of the witness and reliability. So in that assessment, obviously the judge is hearing, firstly, what the witness says happened or what the witness saw. So hard evidence in the form of photographs gives the judge confirmation of what the witness saw, and therefore bolsters the credibility of that witness, especially if that hard evidence, the photographs, are not challenged. So the purpose of that type of evidence, like photographs, fingerprints, and all that, is to confirm and further bolster the evidence of what witnesses say they witnessed.
Of course, I suppose one of the things one has to be mindful of is that both sides can and will indeed interpret those photographs to bolster their version of events. Because, unlike the previous experts who have come forward and tried to interpret information and say these were my findings based on my experience and knowledge, etc., all really we've been seeing is that, these are the hardcore photographs of what was shot on the night with the cameras.
Yes, it puts the defense, in particular, in a difficult position once the state produces that type of hard evidence to confirm whatever a witness has said and has made claims in so saying. So it's simply a good mechanism for the state to strengthen its case.
One of the things that has been discussed previously was this idea that Oscar Pistorius, by his version, was bringing fans back into the house. And perhaps that's why he might not have heard Riva leave the bed. To suddenly hear today that, at least in terms of the photographs we saw, that those fans weren't really even plugged in, takes away the idea that there might have been, noises that might have distracted him. And that's, as you say, probably not very good for the defense, but presumably they're going to find a way to counter that.
Yeah, evidence can be divided into categories. There are facts that are in issue, i.e., did he shoot her or not? There are facts that are relevant to the issue. In other words, did he have a gun? What was his state of mind at the time? And there are also what are called surrounding facts and circumstances, which we lawyers classify under the mystical name of res gestae. All the surrounding facts and circumstances, which either support, either specifically or generally, whatever contentions are being advanced on those facts and relevant facts. So, yes, you've pointed out one aspect of that, and the argument in specific terms will be that because of that, this is more probable, or because of that, this is less probable. It's all part of the puzzle.
Now, one of the things that has been discussed over the last couple of days is obviously the issue of forensics, and particularly how the police handled the exhibits that we are now seeing being brought to court. How does all of that play in terms of how the judge is listening to the evidence, in terms of the idea that the scene might have been contaminated?
In this case, Bongani, and I've said it before, everything is new in this case. We've had this unusual spectre of the defense not only pleading not guilty, but filing a plea explanation in which, surprisingly and unusually, they've put the state's, shall we say, emotional intelligence at issue. They've specifically alleged, the defense specifically alleges male fides, i.e. bad faith on the part of the state. So we've seen defense counsel, Advocate Roux SC, for instance, put it to the witness Vermeulen. You were there only to be interested in the cricket bat. You were completely disinterested in anything that was supporting my client. So the handling of the evidence, the defense will chip away at it in order to substantiate, support their allegation that there's bad faith on the part of the state in this case.
So
it's a double-edged sword, but I don't know if you want me to comment on that.
Just very briefly?
Very briefly, it is a double-edged sword, because if it doesn't come off, if Oscar Pistorius is convicted, it is a factor that will weigh against him, in that the judge will have to accept. Because the court and the public need to know this. Everything that Advocate Roux SC does, Oscar Pistorius is taken to have instructed him to do that. So if he is convicted, the lack of contrition, the aggression in his defense, even attacking the state, and you've noticed that he's in effect saying that everybody is lying against me here. This will count against him, and the court will then, in imposing sentence, have to say, you know, your aggression that you showed at the time has carried through into court. You're a person that needs to be removed from society for longer rather than shorter.
Judge, I must say, I suppose all of us are relieved in some sense that this is really all in the hands of a competent judge with her assessors and not in the hands of a jury. Thank you so much for your insights. As always, David is standing by with some social media information.